Power Alacrity Mechanist with Rival is back. As you might have seen, I already posted a video about Power DPS Mechanist with Rival, and today I want to tell you about the variant where you can also provide Alacrity to your party. This build is very fun to play, very easy, very low effort, and still provides 100% Alacrity uptime and has actually quite a good DPS, even though it's fully ranged. And of course, special shoutouts to all my Patreon, Twitch and YouTube supporters that help me keep the lights on. Thanks a lot. And now, let's jump right in. For your gear, you have to swap around a few pieces in comparison to the DPS Mechanist with Rival, because you need to reach 30% boon duration to permanently upkeep Alacrity. How can we achieve that? You go with a Berserker weapon with Air and Force Sigil. If you can afford infusions, you would go with Power Infusions. Everything else is also Berserker with a few exceptions. We have to use a Diviner Helm and leggings and boots. Those three armor pieces have to be Diviner. And we use Superior Rune of the Scholar for the most amount of damage, of course. For trinkets, you again go for full Berserker with the exception of the back piece, the amulet, and one accessory. So again, 3 pieces here. These 3 pieces here have to be Diviner. The other 3 pieces are Berserker. For your relic, of course, you go again for Relic of the Thief, just the most amount of easy damage buff that you can get. When it comes to food and consumables, you would go with Cilantro Lime Sous Vide Steaks for the most amount of damage and the lifesteal. If you can't afford the Ascended version, you would go with Bowls of Sweet and Spicy Butter or Squash Soup. You would drop the lifesteal, but they still have the nice damage buffs. For utility consumables, you would always go with Superior Sharpening Stones or something that gives similar amount of stats. By the way, if you want to see more awesome build guides or other Guild Wars 2 videos, be sure to subscribe. But now, back to the video. For your traits, you run a quite similar setup to the Power DPS Rival Mechanist. Just have to swap around a few traits, so you go Explosive for the most amount of damage that you can get here, and some nice passive healing. Firearms, even more damage and crit chance. Easy way to crit cap actually, and just a lot of damage. Be aware of this trait. If you, for example, want to min-max this on the Golem, you have to be aware that you deal more damage depending on how many conditions on the foe. That's also important for real fights, so if you have a nice condition spread, you deal more damage than if you're playing only power builds that only apply vulnerability, for example. So keep that in mind if you are benchmarking this. Then for Mechanist, you have to swap around 2 traits. So this one would be the same, but you have to swap to Crisis Zone and Barrier Burst for the skills for the mech, because of course you want to not only apply Alacrity, but you also want to apply Barrier to give your Alacrity to allies. So those 2 skills are very important, but you have to spam all of them to get Alacrity for the full duration. Keep that in mind, and very important when we already talk about the skills, that you have to be in range of your mech. The radius is 360 here, and this one is a little bit higher, but still keep that in mind. This one is instant cast, but this one is a charged attack, so keep your allies around that. So if that's not possible, or if your mech is far away, please always return the mech to yourself and position yourself correctly, or if you really need to, use the shift signet, because the shift signet also teleports your mech to the location. It's really important. Use that and keep track of your mech. Your mech provides the Alacrity. Keep that in mind. You should spam that of cooldown as well, so try to be always near your mech. That's the important part, even though this is ranged. Then again, we have the very nice DPS skills, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of them are nice DPS skills, and the auto take as well. Very easy to play. The CC skills of 3 and 4 are also very nice. For utility skills and healing skills, you would go with AD. If you need some emergency heal, you can go for the healing signet as well, or even for Condi Cleanse with the healing turret. It doesn't really matter, swap to what you currently need. Then you would go with Grenade Kit for the most amount of damage. You would use the 2, 4 and 5 skill. If you want to have an easier version, easier time, you would go with Throw Mine, which also can remove some boons and is a stun, so keep that in mind. If you need more CC, you can also go for Battering Ram. There are a lot of options here. And I would say Grenade Kit is the most amount of damage, but it's a little bit harder to play because you have to swap in and out of the kit. If you don't want to do that, go for Throw Mine. Always use Force Signet, gives you 15% damage buff, and Shift Sickness for the passive wound copies to your mech, and also a very nice stun break, teleport, movement speed increase, condition remove. It's just very overloaded. It's the most broken skill on mech for sure. So those just keep them passive and use whenever you need them, but typically keep them passive. And lastly, we have the Overclock Signet. This one is really nice because if you want to get more damage out, you press that button after you used all your mech skills, of course. If you, for example, have a weird situation where your mech dies, that can happen, resurrect it with this skill. So keep that in mind. Don't use it for damage if your mech is about to die. But other than that, it's a very nice damage as well. To apply Alacrity, you have to use your Mechanist skills of cooldown, especially the Crisis Zone. every time you apply barrier, you also apply alacrity. For your opener, you want to start with your vial with 3 and 2, then swap into the grenade kit, use your grenade 2, 4 and 5, swap out of the grenade kit, use your overcharge shot and your jump shot, and then you follow the loop. Loop is really easy, it's really straightforward. You just always use your blunderbuss together with your shrapnel grenade, and other than that, you just prioritize completing the auto attack while also using net shot, overcharge shot, blunderbuss and jump shot off cooldown. The mech also has a priority list, but in general you just use all of the mech skills off cooldown as well as the overclock signet. The priority list of the mech skills is Crisis Zone before Barrier Burst and before Spark Revolver. And if nothing else is up, you would use the overclock signet. Be aware though that you have to position your mech correctly with attack my target and return to me skills so that you can share your boons around the mech to your party members and not somewhere completely off. Otherwise you can't keep up elect. And try to not use the overclock signet when your mech is about to die because it can be used to reset the mech. That's it for the rotation. Other than that, this build is quite easy to play. It's very fun to play, I would say, and it's very easy to get into. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon. Really appreciate the help to keep my lights on. If you don't want to play the elect DPS role and want to fill the DPS role, be sure to check out this DPS Rifle Mechanist. And if you want to do stuff on your own as a solo player, be sure to check out this solo build guide for Mechanist, where you have alacrity and quickness permanently. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.